What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal One-on-One right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me today is head coach Kevin Smith of Ocean City Football. Coach, thanks for joining me, man, as we turn the page towards the end of July now, getting closer to August. And believe it or not, the start of the season is coming pretty fast, and I'm excited to see what you and the Red Raiders can do this fall. It's interesting, but you guys went from last year, tough schedule, tough breaks with injuries. This still made the playoffs, but I was curious on how you guys ended up turning the page after kind of a bitter end to last season and now moving on to 2023.
Yeah, first of all, when you said it's like mid-July and the season's almost here, that's still, I don't know how that registers with me, to be quite honest. We've been pretty much going all summer. It's a new reality, obviously. The opening game's August 25th, and it really forces you to prepare the entire summer, which, on one hand, it's great because, we love football and we love being a part of it. But on the other hand, sometimes you just feel like you're just cheating these kids out of some of their summer for having them have to prepare for so long. But that's an issue for a different audience. As far as your question goes, yeah, I got an optimistic group of young men, and I think that they understood that we were coming off a really good run there for a few years, and we had a young team last year. And you mentioned the schedule; it was tough, and we learned a lot. You learn a lot more through adversity than you do when things are easy. So hopefully we can put some of those lessons to good use this year.
Absolutely. So you mentioned having a young team, but also some key guys did graduate after 2022. So looking ahead to this year's roster, just some of the guys that have stood out so far to you throughout the summer, new guys stepping up, or some of the guys that are coming back that people might not know of or need to be reminded of going into the fall.
Right. Well, I think we have two really good playmakers coming back. Our running back, Duke Gunther, who's a explosive kid, times real well, ran like a high 4.4 in the 40s. And he came to us last year as a transfer from out in Minnesota, and took a little while to learn our system. But by the time we got about halfway through the year, he was really rolling. So we're looking forward to some good things from him at running back. And then John Moyer, our slot receiver, is kind of a do-it-all kid, big, long kid who's a different body type than Duke, but very explosive as well. So we think those two guys will be big centerpieces for us. And then our quarterback will be a junior, Walker Bailey, and he's had a great summer, and he's another good-sized kid. He's about 6'2" and 200 pounds, and he can run and throw. And so, we're still in the process of identifying some of the strengths and weaknesses in his game. But between those three guys, we think we've got some good skill players. And then we return a lot of our linemen, which is the nice thing. And obviously, anytime you're solid up front, you feel pretty confident. So last year they were all new, and this year most of them are back. So obviously, that comfort level will be a benefit.
Yeah, I was about to say, being an undersized lineman myself back in the day, but you look at the offensive line, especially up front. What does that do for a new quarterback, as you just mentioned, knowing that the offensive line is already pretty much on the same page with each other? You have the continuity, and what does that do for your quarterback and running back and pretty much all your skill guys now on offense?
And one of the nice things that it does is it allows you to expand your scheme a little bit because the foundation is in place. Last year at this point, we were still laying the foundation because we had replaced 4 out of the 5 starting linemen. This year, 4 out of the 5 starting linemen are back. So now you've got the familiarity that they have, and then you can begin to kind of layer some of the things that you've already done. You can sort of say, all right, here's our foundational scheme, and now how do we want to build out from that? And you can do that simply because it's a lot easier to tweak your formations and your motions and the smoke and mirrors, the things that you do to try to protect your core stuff, than it is to put in brand new blocking schemes. And sometimes you talk to coaches sometimes and you hear them, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we got 50 run plays in our offense," and I I always think like, well, are like 48 of them terrible? Because I don't know how you teach 50 schemes to your linemen. So try to keep it simple for the big guys up front, and then build around that with the skill guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least for the linemen up front, it's like, well, it's either counter, trap, or we're going to run to the outside. And pretty much you have 3 to 4 different blocking assignments, especially unless you're a pull-heavy type of offense. But I was going to say 50 run plays. I mean, that's quite the big playbook for a high school team.
Well, if you do it well, you don't need much more than what you just talked about, you know. So I mean, you look at some of the better teams out there. I mean, it's not like they're super elaborate with the scheme. It's that they execute it really, really well, and then they know how once you do something as a defense to try to stop that scheme or take what they're doing well away, then they know how to counterpunch, and that's hopefully the direction that we're moving in this year.
No doubt. I mean, do you like that old school approach of just running? I know a lot of high schools, especially either smaller high schools, even big high schools, still kind of predicate themselves on having a very strong running game. You know, they don't want to totally acclimate themselves to the changing of the game, which is pretty much a lot of pro style stuff, you know, heavy pass offense. Do you still like that old school approach? I mean, I'm not saying everyone's going to go back to the I formation at this point, but what do you think about just keeping a heavy emphasis on the run as well?
I mean, as an offense coordinator, you're living the dream if you can just pound it down somebody's throat. If you can run the ball in the A gap 50 times a game, that's awesome. But that doesn't work for us at Ocean City. We're really not built like that. We don't really get those types of kids. So we've branched out. I think we started to really expand our offense and at least the scheme wise to kind of get into some of the things that you're seeing on the next level. A while ago, the RPO game and the zone reads and those types of things. And we've been doing that for a while just because it benefit. We tend to have kids that might not be as big and strong or as fast as some of the teams we play, but we also have really smart, coachable kids, and we can put a lot on their plate. So we try to play to your strength of who you got. I mean, I'm not going to lie, man. If we had a bunch of just dudes up front with some great backs, and I'd be slamming in the A gap all the time, But we don't have that luxury.
I mean, it's all good, especially if you can scheme your way out of it. And just one more on that, a lot of people like to say, well, talent's going to overcome scheme overcomes talent, vice versa. However you want to phrase it. You just mentioned how your kids are very coachable. I mean, is that something you take pride in as a coach, and obviously for your staff as well, knowing that, maybe you don't have the biggest or fastest kids, but if we scheme it up the right way, use these RPOs, use these zone reads, use the modern day offense, or, I would say the 2010s, 2020s offense now at this point. If we do that, we can be highly successful on the football field.
Yeah, like I said, I think it works for us and for who we are. Any coach who tells you that that talent doesn't make them a better coach is a liar. you can scheme it all, scheme it up all you want, man, but you need some guys that can really play. And I'm not trying to cry poor and suggest we haven't had those guys. We do. We've had some really talented football players, and they've been a huge part of our success. But as far as what we feel we need to do to compete with the best teams in South Jersey, I think that we have to get away from, just sort of the most fundamental stuff in terms of X and O's and get a little creative. And again, like I said, man, by having kids that can digest that stuff allows us to do it. It's not what you know as a coach that makes you effective. It's what you can get your players to execute well. So try to find that sweet spot between where they are in terms of their understanding and their ability level and what we want to do as a staff.
So we'll switch over to what's coming up this fall. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys open the season against Mainland, and that's obviously the big rivalry game between you guys. It's one of the biggest rivalries in South Jersey, whether you're going from Cape May County, Atlantic County. I mean, anywhere in South Jersey. I mean, it's hard for me to find a rivalry that's almost bigger than Mainland Ocean City. You guys did edge out the Mustangs last year. They obviously got to the state semifinals. They ended up going on a run, and as I mentioned before, for you guys, injuries and obviously a tough schedule, a bit of a tough skid for you guys after you defeated them last year. So kind of a two-part question here. One, tell me about this rivalry, what that means to your school and what it's meant for, basically the entire town at this point, and how you is it basically one of those things on the calendar where we have 50 days till Mainland, 40 days till Mainland? Is it like that every year pretty much?
Yeah, so we actually start at Battle at the Beach. We open with Pleasantville this year at Battle at the Beach. We moved that from Thanksgiving, and we'll now play in that big event at our place.
Very good, very good.
And that's kind of weird. We ended the season with Pleasantville last year, and now we'll start with them this year. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, we get Mainland in week 2, and that's a special rivalry. I mean, I went to Mainland. Chuck Smith and I have known each other for a long, long time, and all the Mainland kids know the Ocean City kids well, and vice versa. And we have a ton of respect for them. it ebbs and flows, man. They got the better of us for a long time. We've gotten the better of the rivalry recently. Last year's game was an awesome game. Came down kind of to the final play, and they got the better of the play for a while, and we put some stuff together in the fourth quarter and came back and beat them. So I'm sure they'll be geeked up for us this year. I know that they got a real good squad coming back. They had a great senior class. So I don't know. I just feel like one of the things that makes high school football special is these types of rivalries, and to have a rival that's the quality of Mainland. I mean, you would talk about like a worthy adversary. I mean, it's really unique, and I don't think that every school has that. So we feel special because of it.
And it's interesting you mentioned how you moved your Thanksgiving game against Pleasantville, and naturally, when the Thanksgiving game was a little bit bigger in the state, everyone had their rival on Thanksgiving, but you guys just moved up Pleasantville to now the Battle of the Beach, where you're going to open a great event, 3-day event at Ocean City High School, and we'll be out there as well, of course. So tell me about the Thanksgiving game. I mean, is it almost an afterthought? Now, I ask a lot of coaches about this because everyone has different opinions on how the schedule has changed over the past couple of years, especially with the state playoffs and how it's now expanded to the overall group champion in each of the enrollment groups. I mean, do you wish you had that game back and there was a way to keep it on that holiday, or do you feel fine now knowing that, Pleasantville's your Thanksgiving Day rivalry, but we moved it up to the first week now, Battle of the Beach, big event. Like that'll be the new Thanksgiving at this point. What's your take on that?
I mean, I love the Thanksgiving game. It just the state made it impractical with the start of the season being on August 25th. And I mean, last year we lost our playoff game to Shawnee on November 1st. And then we had to wait around till November 25th to play Pleasantville on Thanksgiving. We were able to schedule one game in between that. But at that point, you lose your playoff game and there's a natural letdown. And the kids, I don't want to say they start turning their attention to something else, but there's a million things competing for the attention of these kids now. And whether it's basketball, wrestling, whatever the next thing might be, holding them together for that period of time was hard. And then just practically speaking, the season starts now in late August. Practices start at the end of June. So when you go to Thanksgiving, your season's going from late June to late November. That's just too long for young people to be playing football. And it didn't make sense. And Pleasantville felt the same way. And last year was the 100th game between the two of us. And that just felt symbolically like a good time to sort of put a bow on it. I know there's some people that are upset about it, some traditionalists. And I mean, I took some heat in Ocean City because there's some people in town that, you get some of the guys in town. I've been going to the Thanksgiving game since 1967. And I get it, man, but you're not, you don't have to come out here for 3 more weeks after your season has essentially ended in order to play a game that is, I don't want to demean it. It means something to people, but at the same time, there's no real consequences for it.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's why the argument was made that maybe most of these schools, if not all the schools around New Jersey that had those Thanksgiving Day games, could make those their week 0 games and maybe make that the new tradition throughout the state. And I'm an EHT alum, so I'm used to that Thanksgiving game. I'm a traditionalist, but I've noticed how it's better just practically for the schedule to play that game, the first week of the season or within the first 2 weeks, and that's your rivalry game. And kind of like just move it's like college football, but just move it to the beginning of the season, have these big kickoff games or something like that. So it's good to hear that you guys are keeping the game with Pleasantville, especially at Battle of the Beach in a big event. Just real quick on that, as it came into my head. How did that originally come about a couple of years ago, where you as a staff, as a school administration at town said, you know what, we have an opportunity to make a big showcase event, show off our facility over the course of 3 days and bring in some big schools. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe IMG is still coming next month as well, all the way from Florida coming. They have a big game right on your home turf.
Yeah, that's going to be fabulous. IMG against St. Joe's Prep from Philly on Saturday night, the 26th. The game's going to be live on ESPN2. So what a phenomenal opportunity just for local football, South Jersey football, and really the state of New Jersey to sell itself. It's one of the best football states in the country. And we have an opportunity now to showcase it, and then to showcase our venue, which is totally unique. I mean, there really aren't too many stadiums like it that are situated right on the beach like that. It's incredible when I get all these college coaches that come in and recruiting our players and stuff. They can't believe, where we're playing. They come over the bridge and you got that panoramic view of the city when you drive in. And so we recognize that it's a special place. And a few years back, there was a lot of talk about the WJFL within the West Jersey Football League about, hey, let's see if we can feature our teams at a kickoff event. I mean, there's 94 teams in the West Jersey Football League, and the league kind of wanted to do something as a showcase to kick things off. Ocean City was, one of several venues that were floated as a possible destination, and I advocated for it just because we have a beautiful field and everybody seemed to buy in. The first year went well. Last year was even better. And then this year, I think it's going to be fantastic. I mean, even the St. Joe Prep IMG game will be the headliner, but the game before that, it's the 4:00 game on Saturday, is Millville against Toms River North. So you got two defending state champs playing each other. I mean, that's going to be a heck of a day of football. Our game's Friday night, so we always draw a big crowd for that. So it's really going to be great for football in New Jersey. It'd be great for the city of Ocean City. We're going to bring thousands of people to the city. So, very excited by it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I did a game last year. It was Edison against Cedar Creek. So you have, North Jersey, South Jersey. And right before that was Holy Spirit, Cherokee, two local teams that obviously most Cape Atlantic people know. And that was a game down to the wire. So quality football all around, even for the first week of the season. So won't keep it too long, Coach. I appreciate the time as always right here on Cal 101 on Cape Atlantic Live. Ocean City opening up with Pleasantville at Battle of the Beach. And, of course, mainland right around the corner. Season's coming fast, Coach. But looking at the schedule this year, again, you guys did squeak into the playoffs last year despite some adversity. You mentioned key guys coming back, offensive line especially, some new skill guys to break in as well. But looks like on paper, looks like Ocean City looks like a much more talented team here in 2023. How do you guys get on a run this year, get back to the postseason, maybe make a bit of a deeper run this year, and maybe not leave with that bitter taste in your mouth?
Well, I mean, a lot of it will come down to little things. I think back on our year last year. I mean, we lost the game to St. Joe 7-3. We lost the game to Winslow Township, by 6. We were tied in the fourth quarter with Hamilton in a game where we had a chance to take the lead early in the fourth and couldn't do it. I mean, we just weren't great in the fourth quarter of some games that were really crucial to us. And a lot of that is experience. And we're hoping that we have the experience this year, that we're a little mentally tougher for it. Obviously the line helps. Just the opportunity to sort of go through the adversity last year and learn from it, and then recognize your weaknesses and where you fell short, and then address that throughout the off season will be valuable. So, I mean, we're going to be it's the same schedule that we play from last year. So it doesn't get any easier, but we're going to be in a ton of close games. And we just hope that we are preparing the kids, for that adversity, and that they'll handle it better than they did last year.
Well, Ocean City is going to be a fascinating football team to watch here in 2023 with that schedule, and obviously with the way you guys play down to the wire. So it's going to be some exciting football come this fall. Head coach Kevin Smith of Ocean City High School. Coach, appreciate the time as always. Appreciate you hopping on, and good luck this season. Looking forward to watching you guys.
Absolutely, and thanks for what you do promoting high school football in the area.
Absolutely. Head coach Kevin Smith, Ocean City football right here on Cal 101.